Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. It's certainly no secret that there are some problems in a few of our major cities. It's also no secret that all of these major cities with these problems are run by Democrats. I'm actually having trouble keeping up with the news with all the violence and the looting and the homelessness. I could go on and on, the 10 cities. I'm going to give you today, though, a little liberal urban misgovernance update. What I'm actually going to do is, I guess there's this guy named Mike who either lives in New York. Yeah, he lives in New York. And no, he may not live in New York and just have a friend in New York, but he got a message or a text or an email from a friend telling what's going on in New York. There's also mention of some other cities, but it's mainly focused on New York. And that's what I want to focus on because, well, it's no secret. I've mentioned it many times in the past. Okay, it is a secret if this is your first visit or you haven't been watching these vlogs for a while. But I lived in New York for 40 years. So when I see these news reports about New York or people talking about New York, I know the area really well. So it especially hits home very hard for me because I used to love New York. I still love the New York that was, but that New York that was doesn't exist anymore. I worry that it's going to be like my hometown of Detroit that just declined over many decades and never really has come back. I wonder if it ever will. New York, of course, is famous for suffering problems and then coming back, but this time could be different. That's why I left, because I saw it becoming like Detroit. These tweets are going to illustrate what I'm talking about. It's sad, but I'm just going to read the tweets, okay? There's just a handful of tweets here, but here we go from Mike. I've been exchanging messages with friends about what's happening in our cities, New York, Philadelphia, and LA especially. A lot of disturbing things are not making the news. Even Republicans aren't drawing attention to it. Here's a message from a friend about life in New York today. Here's my neighborhood, Mike. An elderly man enjoying dinner with his wife at an outdoor restaurant punched in the face. A woman waiting for the subway to come stabbed in the back. An older neighbor pausing to catch his breath, told to pay $2 in protection money or get the blank off that particular street corner. This is just the 10-block radius from where I live in the last 6 days. Other friends from New York talk about shattered business districts, drugstores with locked shelves, and hundreds of homeless people and parolees, including sex offenders, being moved into hotels on the Upper West Side adjacent to schools and playgrounds, which are filled with needles again, like in the 1970s. Friends in Philadelphia report large homeless encampments in the city center and being robbed at gunpoint. Friends in LA talk about squatters taking over empty homes in professional class neighborhoods whose residents fantasize about emigrating to Canada. Friends in all 3 cities have seen police officers refuse to get out of their cars while large-scale law-breaking takes place in front of them. That's in addition to the obvious mayhem being perpetrated on a nightly basis in Portland, Seattle, and Chicago. Estimates are that up to 1 million people have already fled New York City, meaning nearly everyone who has the means to leave has left. And I think I'm going to disagree with that last point there because I don't think everybody who has the means to leave has left. I think there is more to come as things get worse and worse. And then you're going to see a downward spiral. It's going to feed on itself because as wealthy people or well-to-do people leave the city, you're left only with poor people. It was when I came to New York, there was somewhat of a middle class. The rents weren't that bad. They were high in some areas, but it became a city of wealthy people and very poor people, and then in between, people who would live out in the boroughs and then come into the city to work and then leave. If you lived in New York, the only way to really get by, it was becoming increasingly apparent, was either to be very rich and be able to afford the expense, or very poor and get all kinds of government aid. But now the rich people are leaving too because of the quality of life, the homelessness, the poverty, the drugs, the needles now, people shooting up on Broadway and 40th Street, which is was a very crowded, that was the business district. It still is, maybe to some extent. That is what they call Midtown. That is the business district where all these high-rise offices are. But a lot of people, I think I mentioned in an earlier vlog, this is more downtown, but the New York Daily News, a major, it's a tabloid, but it's a major New York City paper. There's the Daily News, the New York Post, and of course the New York Times. And the Daily News is just abandoning their offices because of the coronavirus, they started working from home, and Daily News found out that people can work quite well from home and that the newspaper can get along quite well without all this office space. So it's going to feed on itself. Fifth Avenue, which is a really high end, I mean, you're talking $3,000 a square foot rent around Rockefeller Center, but now you're seeing some lower level, I won't say discount stores, but you're seeing some not quite so high class businesses taking space there because the rents are coming down, and the landlords will it's going to get to the point where they'll take anybody who will rent space. And then to try to reverse that, well, I won't say it's impossible because Rudy Giuliani did it. He came to New York, he was elected mayor in 1993, the early 90s. New York had been going down the tubes. The people of New York finally got frustrated enough or angry enough to elect Rudy Giuliani. He ran first before that, 4 years earlier, against David Dinkins. Dinkins won, and the city just got worse and worse. It finally got so bad that the people of New York took a chance. They elected a Republican. Rudy Giuliani turned the whole city around so fast. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but he really did an amazing job. He showed how quickly a Republican mayor can turn around a failing city. And then Bloomberg came after him. He was very liberal. I mean, he is very liberal, but he ran as a Republican, and he got the moniker Nanny Bloomberg because of trying to ban large sodas, 16-ounce sodas, all these liberal health policies that he tried to enact. So he became known as Nanny Bloomberg. But when it came to law and order, he continued the policies of Rudy Giuliani, and it showed that just continuing those policies, that you could keep New York as a good place to live. Now de Blasio came along, the people of New York, which is an important lesson that liberals do not learn. They should have learned, seeing what the city was like before Giuliani, then under Giuliani, then under Bloomberg, that what the liberals were doing before Giuliani was hurting the city, was wrong. But after Giuliani turned the city around, then liberals said, okay, now we can start electing liberals again. They elected de Blasio, and we can see how quickly, I mean, I saw with my own eyes because I lived there until a year and a half ago, how quickly a liberal mayor can destroy a city. Now the question is, will New Yorkers and people of LA, and the people of Chicago, and the people of Minneapolis, and the people of Portland. I could go on and on. Well, for them, it would be a first in many decades to elect a Republican, but in New York, it would just be doing again what already worked, but I can't think of who that Republican would be. I can't think of a particular Republican in New York who would be running for office, and I also have trouble believing that the people of New York will elect a Republican again. I hope I'm wrong. And then you have, at the state level, you have Andrew Cuomo practically begging the wealthy people who have left, not just the city, but the state, but especially the city, to come back. He's begging them to come back, but this will be a subject of another video because I was talking about New York and the misgovernance of the cities. But like the mayor of New York and the mayor of all these cities, Cuomo just does not get it. What he doesn't get, you have a preview of coming attractions. I will talk about it possibly in a later video if my aging mind can remember. But until then, as always, thanks for stopping by. Thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? You can put them in the comment section below the video. Good place also for questions, suggestions for future topics. I would love to have more subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would really be great. But most of all, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.